Released with the Indigo Disc DLC back in December 2023, Kyurem has been a dominating presence in the Scarlet and Violet metagame. So quote-unquote broken that it is now being suspect tested for a second time. How's it going everyone? This is Amask and today I'll be talking about why I think Kyurem should be banned from Generation 9 OU. Kyurem is a Dragon and Ice type legendary Pokemon with the ability Pressure who has access to an impressive base 130 attack and a special attack, 125 HP, 95 speed and decent base 90 defenses. And quite frankly, none of these things make Kyurem broken. There have been a plenty of Pokemon that have had similar or better starts but weren't able to reach the top of the mountain. What does make Kyurem problematic for the OU tier is its set variety. It is capable of being both a special and a physical attacker, fits on nearly every team archetype, is an incredible user of terrestrialization, having multiple terra types to choose from like Fairy, Ghost, Ground, Ice and Dragon, and overall it is incredibly hard to figure out what set Kyurem is using in a game before it's too late. Initially, choice spec sets were all the rage, which also led Kyurem to its first suspect test back in February. However, this Pokemon dodged the ban by a mere number of 5 votes. Looks like many players thought Kyurem might be manageable in the future. And boy weren't they wrong, because Kyurem had no intention of stopping and the recent OLT official ladder tournament proved that right. It saw a ton of usage of this Pokemon and a plethora of new set variations. I'd like to talk about those further, but before that, if you're finding the video useful, remember to like, comment and subscribe. It really helps out a lot. When it comes to Kyurem sets, the first one that comes to mind is the Choice Specs variant, and rightfully so because this set has been Kyurem's bread and butter for generations. You can simply slap a Choice Specs on an already incredible base 130 special attack and you get a really powerful Pokemon. This gets moved up a notch in Generation 9 as now Kyurem is capable of terrestrializing. A Choice Specs Kyurem's Terra Ice Beam can two-shot even resistances. It gets even better when you pair it with chilly reception support from Galarian Slowking to not only give Kyurem a defense raise, but also make its Blizzard hit 100% of the time. Trust me, if you wanna switch into this Pokemon, you'll need a Blissey in your team. Or you can terrestrialize your special walls like Slowking Galar or Garganacl into Fire, Water, Steel or Ice types. But here's the problem, Kyurem learns the move Freeze Dry and Earth Power. So even if you survive a Blizzard once by terrestrializing into Fire or Water or a Ground type, next time those walls won't be walls anymore. Now turning into an Ice type might be a valid strat to deal with Specs Kyurem, that is if you can make it work, because you see Ice is one of the worst defensive typings, having 4 weaknesses in total. But still, even after Specs Kyurem being so incredibly powerful, its era was short-lived as people soon realized that being logged into a single move isn't the best of what Kyurem can do. And they replaced Specs with heavy-duty boots, allowing it to easily come on the field without worrying about taking 25% from Stealth Rock, while also giving it the ability to switch between moves, which mattered a lot since now it was able to use its impressive coverage to deal with its resistances instead of relying on terrestrialization or reading on the switch. For example, if a Balloon Gholdengo comes in on an Ice Beam, a Specs Kyurem will either have to use its Terra to go past Gholdengo's bulk and resistance, or switch out. But with boots, Kyurem can easily hit that Gholdengo with an Earth Power the next turn. This also meant that now Kyurem was able to utilize a defensive Terra type like Fairy or Ground to deal with its Revenge Killers. Kyurem is also capable of running a physical Dragon Dance set, utilizing the item Loaded Dice that allows Kyurem's multi-hit moves like Icicle Spear and Scale Shot to hit at least 4 to 5 times. It also uses Terra Blast as a third move to deal with its checks and resistances like Electric for Primarina, Fire for Kingambit and Gholdengo, or Ground for Heatran. This paired with the special sets was the reason for the first suspect test back in February. But since then, Kyurem sets have evolved. Players don't just stick to one or the other category, instead they use both in one. And that really is what takes Kyurem over the line, cause now common walls aren't walls anymore. They are in constant fear of being hit by a different category of a move if they switch in. For example, if you try to switch a Slowking Galar in on an Ice Beam, you might get hit by an Icicle Spear the next turn, which will do a ton of damage. Same happens on the other side, as if you try to bring in, let's say, a Dondozo expecting Dragon Dance, you might just get hit by a Freeze Dry the next turn. My personal favorite set includes Scale Shot, Icicle Spear, Freeze Dry and Earth Power with Loaded Dice, which is capable of not only hitting on both physical and special sides, but also raising its speed using Scale Shot, turning into a threatening sweeper. It gets even more annoying when terrestrialization gets into the mix. If you decide to bring an AV Primarina, you could get hit by a Terra Electric Terra Blast. If you try to bring in Garganacl, you might get 2-shot by a Terra Ground Earth Power. If you try to revenge kill using a Dragapult, you could get surprised by a Terra Fairy. If you try to use close combat with Iron Valiant, Kyurem could become a Ghost type. All of these crazy variations came into light recently during OLT, alongside, in my opinion, the most annoying Kyurem set so far. Substitute, Protect, Freeze Dry and Earth Power with leftovers. Even though Kyurem lost Roost this generation, it hasn't stopped this Pokemon from wreaking havoc. This set utilizes Kyurem's usually useless ability Pressure to extreme lengths, TP stalling not only defensive mons but even offensive ones like Goldengo, whose Steel type move Make It Rain has merely 8 PP. Not to mention it avoids status and things like Salt Cure, and when paired with Terra types like Ghost and Ground, it can really mess your team up if you aren't prepared for it. At this point, there are simply too many variations of Kyurem running around, like DD, Icicle Spear, Substitute and Terra Blast with Terra Electric and loaded dice, or Dragon Dance, Icicle Spear, Freeze Dry and Earth Power with Never Melt Ice, or even Dragon Dance, Icicle Spear, Freeze Dry and Terra Blast Ghost. Hell, I've seen people use Dragon Dance with 3 special attacks just to raise its speed. The point is, accounting for every variation of Kyurem while team building is too much of a hassle, and it's always a guessing game between you and Kyurem figuring out what set that Pokemon will have and what counterplay should you choose to deal with it. Because one wrong move and you could lose a very important asset of your team, and even if you somehow manage to not get swept by Kyurem, the damage done will eventually mean you lose the game to the other 5 Pokemon on your opponent's team. Hence, Kyurem should be banned from Generation I Know You. Now, this is completely my opinion with reasons to back it up. If you don't agree with it, you can. I am not running any propaganda to ban Kyurem. In fact, I would love to know your opinions on the Pokemon, whether they favor a ban or not. Anyway, if you found this video helpful, you might also want to check out my video about Kyurem's predecessor, Gouging Fire, and why it was banned. It's right on your screen, check it out, and I'll see you all there. Goodbye.